Okay, what I want to show you are three parts of how to share a spreadsheet with a bunch of lab instructors so that they can easily communicate their grades to you and not mess around with emailing files back and forth. So the first thing you need to do is get the data from the students for each of your lab instructors. You can get access to their Blackboard site through Andrew Reel, or there's this handy dandy new way to log in to, it's a courseware sign up tool, and if you click on that, it'll challenge you. You got to log in, and once you log in, you can then set your year, you can set what kind of class it is. I use credit courses and say it's winter, and you would put in whatever the URL is for the the CRN, so that you can find out what that course is. Now I'm not going to actually punch this in because it contains student data and it wouldn't be fair to them to share that. What I want to say is that you get back a text file. You have to trim out some of the information, which is easy with a find and replace, and what you have is their MyMRU ID. I'm going to next show you how to paste that information into a spreadsheet. You then can link up the names with other information that you might get from your lecture instructors and consolidate it into one spreadsheet. The consolidation requires you do have some understanding of how spreadsheets work, and you can reference one cell with another. These are easy things to do that I'm sure Andrew would be happy to show you. So this is one way to get the instructor information. Another way that I find more fussy is to go through Blackboard and to open up all of the grade books and export them and all that part. But this I find is really easy, especially because if you have a lab instructor with multiple sections, you can put in all of their different CRNs and get a single document with all of their information together. Okay, so I showed you how to get the student information. I showed you how to do it using a courseware tool, but you could do it through Blackboard. The next thing is to get the student information into a spreadsheet. Now, I've already organized the spreadsheet a little bit. I didn't think I wanted to show you all the nitty-gritties. But here's the spreadsheet, and what I have is data where I've obfuscated the student ID numbers because of FOIP issues, and I replaced values and stuff. So let's use Jeff Sheedy, a lab instructor who's served with me for a very long time. He's a fantastic organizer of the labs. You can see I changed all his E's to X's to sort of hide his identity, so the student ID are fairly hidden. So what I've got here is the lab section page, and on this I don't have actual data here. I've actually just referenced values that are found in another spreadsheet tab called Sheedy. Now, this is where the data are actually going to be entered in. Now, what Jeff would want to do is be able to fill in these values and then share them with me. But since this spreadsheet lives on my computer, I would rather take this information and put it to another place called Google Docs. And once he's updated it, I can download it, paste it in here, and then get all the consolidated information for all the instructors down here. So this is how the spreadsheet is supposed to work. So I set up the spreadsheet by creating individual tabs for each of the instructors. I only have Jeff down here so far because, like I say, since I've hidden the data by changing the values, I really don't want to use this and go to the effort for everybody. But I would have one tab for each instructor. I would put in the student ID number and their first name and last name, which there's various ways to do it, as well as their ID number, and then have a common area. This organizes the lab instructors by having all the different assignments with the values they're out of. And this reminds the lecture instructors how they should be assessing the students, how many assessments they do, and what they should all be out of. The next thing I need to do is create a separate spreadsheet of this, and that's done easily by right-clicking on the tab, hitting copy, move or copy, tell them I want to copy, and I want it copied as a brand new book. When you do that, it's going to create a brand new spreadsheet. You just file, save as, and let's save it on my desktop here. And I'm going to call it Sheedy, after his name, so I remember whose it is, and hit save, and ka-ching, we're all done. The last thing I want to show you is how we take that information, take this file, and share it up on Google Docs. So I'm going to make a separate movie that shows you how to do that. Okay, so where we are right now is I showed how to get student information out of Blackboard. I showed how to create a common spreadsheet where you communicate using individual tabs, each instructor's class list, as well as how many assignments and what they're out of. Now I want to share it with them. You could use email for this. I have found over several years that sending emails back and forth almost inevitably has them lost at some point. This way, I can put the spreadsheet online using Google Docs. The instructor can be shared up to that file. They can edit it right in the website and then just forget about it. I can just access it. So let's do that. So going back into Firefox, we want to go to docs.google.com, and then you want to log into that. I'm already logged in, and you can see I'm using my MRU, my Mount Royal email address. And we've got these different sections and people who are involved with this. Now this gray box indicates this is sort of a folder. They call it a collection, I guess, to make it cooler. I want to put Jeff's spreadsheet that's living on the hard drive of my computer online. I go to Upload. I then select the file to upload, and that's in my desktop. And there's Jeff's file that I created. I simply open it, and I want it to be converted so that it can be edited in the spreadsheet. So I'm going to move down to Start Upload. It doesn't take long. I'm using wireless for this, and it looks like we're good to go. So I'll go back to the Google Docs, and there's my most recent file. Now I want this to go into my Labs folder, so I go to Actions, Organize, and tell you put it into the proper folder, and you see a little tab here telling you what folder it's in. So if I look in here, there he is. I would do this for all my lab instructors, so I'd have a list of everybody. Now here's the cool thing about Google Docs. If I open this up, I get a spreadsheet, and you can modify the width of the columns if you really want to. If, I've given fake first and last names here. And so let's say we've got a student here who got 5 and 8, and let's say didn't do too well with attendance and cleanup and being prepared for labs. Give them a poor mark there, and however the marks work, we'll just throw those in. Those are the marks that Jeff would put in, and that's all he has to do. He just puts them in, closes the folder, and he's done. He and I can both see the data that were just put in. So if we take a look, there it is. Now, I've forgotten one really important thing. I showed you that the spreadsheet can be modified online, but Jeff has no access to it at this point. The way to give him access, let me just close this down, is upload the file and then share it. So Actions, Share, Share Settings, and you just put his email address in there. You make sure they can edit it, so they can do just what I did. You click the share button, he will get an email. He just clicks on the link, it'll open up this file, he modifies it, and then at the end of the semester, if I see some incompletions, I can phone him up and ask him to update those. We're not sharing emails, we're not attaching things. It's really simple to do. The final step would be for me to download the data right from the Google Docs site, paste it back into the original spreadsheet, and then send it out to the instructors who are in charge of those separate bits of data. So hopefully you can see that Google Docs is a handy way to consolidate a bunch of group stakeholders. You can get the lab people or the tutorial people, if that's what you want to do, to link up with the lecture people. I'm the intermediary where I create the files, I email and link and that. And I do have FOIP permission to be able to see all of those data, but the lab instructors don't see each other's marks. The lecture instructors don't see other students' marks. Only the people who have reasonable legal reason to see the data will be given that access.